I vote Shaun Spins.
Shaun Spins.
I vote for Shaun Spins.
My vote goes to the great man from Philadelphia, Shaun Spins.
This special episode of Shaun Spins is brought to you by... What the? The 100% vegan entree that can fool most meat eaters.
Did you say we're live? Now? Still black and white. I think I remember how to fix it. Oh. That made it worse. Just let's start the show.
Mattel Electronics presents
Shaun Spins! Welcome back to Shaun Spins. This is episode 46, and I'm your host, Shaun, and I hope everyone is safe and well. It's been a minute since I've worked on an episode, and give me a second, don't change the channel yet. I know it's been a minute since I did an episode. We're losing sponsors. What? We never had any sponsors? Seems like things are going same as usual. Stay the course, Shaun. Picked up a record yesterday I wanted to do an episode about. Ramones' Pleasant Dreams, the New York mixes. I got this at Record Store Day yesterday. It's in this bright lemon yellow. It's kind of interesting to see a Sire record in lemon yellow. I'm not used to colored vinyl for Sire. I got it yesterday and I was a little nervous. Couldn't find much information about it. I couldn't tell if it was demo versions of the song, completely new mixes, old mixes from the time. Couldn't find much information. Well, I went to 2 record stores looking for it and a few other albums, and I found it. I was pleasantly surprised. I think I've played it 7 to 10 times already since last night. Now, I love the album Pleasant Dreams from the Ramones, and I've talked a lot about the Ramones in a previous episode, so I'll mostly just talk about my life with this album and what it means to me. This is an album from the later period, which I consider the later period of the Ramones. And I was kind of shocked a year or two ago when a lot of people were trying to find that box set of the later Ramones albums, because I've never met many people in my life that like the later stuff. And in the last couple years, I would meet people that like Subterranean. And that album I do not really like, yet Pleasant Dreams means a lot to me, and it's a very special album to me. Here's my old copy of it. And there's the back. Like I said, I'm used to Sire on black vinyl. Now, clearly one of the biggest differences, you went from the art design cover to a photograph, which I've heard has been a thing with the band when it came out, because this was like the first time a Ramones album did not have the band on the cover. One of the first ways I ever heard this album was when Sire reissued these CDs back in the day that had extra tracks on it. This one has Maki on the back. And believe it or not, the extra tracks on this one is not my favorite from all these reissues. Some of them had like a live concert, and this one also has the alternate cover in here, yet the lettering is different. I actually prefer the lettering on this one as opposed to what the vinyl came out with. The vinyl, the Pleasant Dreams, it's kind of hard to read in the cursive, and I like the Ramones logo better with the colors they use, that green mint. As I said, this album has a very special place to me. Definitely now you can tell I have 3 copies of it in different variations. I know, like, Johnny Ramone wasn't incredibly thrilled doing this record. Graham Goodman works on it from 10cc. And I can imagine the meeting with Johnny Ramone explaining this to him. Johnny Ramone's the guitar player. We're going to work with Graham Goodman from 10cc. That's like me getting a phone call, 15 years ago saying I was going to do a duet with Kenny Rogers. And my answer might be, do you want me to bring the Super Fuzz and the Big Muff pedals? Like, I would be completely lost. So I can imagine that's how Johnny felt. Now, this album to me is very special to me because of Joey's songs. Very sweet love songs on it, which I don't think Johnny was a fan of. Wanted to go heavier into punk rock. There's a few tracks on this album that are amazing to me. One in particular, Right Away, is She's a Sensation. And for me, that just reminds me of a time in my life and someone that meant a great deal to me. And I would listen to that song in particular, and it reminded me of her. So this morning, I dug up a few CDs and files of images that she had taken at the time. I'm going to share some of the photographs she had taken at the time. And I actually found some music I recorded at the time too, like on a Ty-Tac microphone. So I'll put that together. Looking at that last group of pictures that she took of me, I thought to myself, it's been 20 years just about, and my life is still very similar. First image is me looking for records in a record store. A lot more CDs in the image at that time. It's an image of me cooking pasta. One with art, with the Robert Indiana piece, and one of me playing guitar. I did notice my smile in the guitar picture. I remember that wasn't my guitar too. It was like a guitar at the house. I think she brought it to the house so I would feel more comfortable being there and having a guitar there. Anytime I'm somewhere without guitars, I feel very strange, like a friend is not there. I did notice my smile in the image, and that is something I think lately it's been lacking, and that's definitely something she brought to me, is my smile and more humor. So let's get back to the record itself. Now, I did notice between the original and the New York mixes, it's missing the track Come On Now. Let me flip it over. Whoa, that way. Now, they did add the song Touring. And I will say this. I've heard Touring many times in my life, and it's even a bonus track on this one. And I've never cared for that song, and this, by far, this New York mix version of Touring might be my favorite version ever of the song Touring. Now, I've always leaned heavier towards the Joey songs. Very similar, I think, him and I have for our love of the Ronettes, and Joey's songwriting, I feel, goes into that world. There's a song on here called 7-Eleven. And when I think of 7-Eleven, I think of Stephen King did some writing on the Ramones for a CD that came out like 25 years ago. And he talked about how people relate to the Ramones. And a track like that, just hearing how they met at a 7-Eleven, like playing Space Invaders. And it's just something I can relate to. Just growing up, I can relate to it. I couldn't relate to a song singing about traveling through Europe and things like that and hanging out at a country club, but I can relate to going to a 7-Eleven. The original version has lyrics inside of it. The new one does not. Now, the biggest difference for me, like I said, I was a little nervous that this New York mix would be really lo-fi demos or almost like bootlegs. It's not, though. It's pretty much the original, yet little things are missing. Added little effects, sounds are missing, excuse me. And another thing I noticed just from years of knowing this album is the drums sound different. They don't sound as produced. They sound way better. I'll be honest with you. This is the best I've ever heard Marky Ramone's drumming. It's very natural sounding. To me, I remember in particular listening to it, I felt like at one part the bass sounded better, like it was more in the forefront. I don't hear as much of a difference in vocals. I would say a little bit, I noticed. But mostly I hear like drums and bass. And getting rid of those little things. And even like I noticed like a song ended differently. It just like kind of just ended. And I'm not talking about faded, like it completely ended differently on a different like note. To me, I feel as though like instead of calling this the New York mixes, they should have called it the Johnny Ramone mixes, because I feel as though Johnny would have liked this better. It's more closer to punk rock. Now, I'm not saying full-on hardcore punk rock. I'm not saying like, if you want to scream, scream with me. No, we're not going to that level of punk rock, but I'm saying not as produced, not as a polished sound. And I wondered if that polished sound came from 10cc, like their version of what music should sound like to be popular on the radio. Yet, it seems as though it's still Graham Goodman, all this, so I don't understand like how this got to be a little different with the added noises and stuff. I mean, even the sound of like the car crash on 7-Eleven, it's not in this new mix. And like the one note on We Want the Airways that just kind of drones, it's not here. It has a different sound. And to tell you the truth, as of right now this morning, I prefer this one. As much as the original is just stuck in my head. I mean, it stuck in my head so much when I was listening to this many times last night. I was filling in the lost parts in my head because I'm just so used to hearing it again and again and again all my life. As someone new into the Ramones, I might not recommend it. Someone that really likes the album Pleasant Dreams, I would totally recommend it. And it might become your new favorite version of the album. I mean, even just the fact that it's got the photograph as opposed to the drawn artwork, it might be something that someone really likes. The record itself sounds great. The pressing sounds great. There's no issues with the pressing at all. I am kind of weirded out that the lyrics were taken away and the one song's not here. But I really, really enjoy it, and I think Johnny would have enjoyed it a lot too. So if you get a chance, I'd pick it up. I think I paid $23 or $24. I think it was $24 and then tax. So it was definitely a surprise for me, and it's a great album to me, and it means a lot to me. It brings me back to a place hanging out with the person I was sharing about, the photographs that she took. And just a time of not having a lot of money, selling artwork for shoes, selling records to get subway tokens to go to work, selling artwork so we could go to the movies at the time, and She's a Sensation was definitely a track that reminded me of her and at that time, and I understand why Joey wrote it, and I understand how he was feeling, and it's a good album. It is interesting how we go from She's a Sensation, 7-Eleven, and then to the Dee Dee song, You Didn't Mean Anything to Me. What a difference. Well, I think that's it for now. been a while since I did this, so I hope it makes sense, and I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, I hope everybody stays well and be nice to each other and take care.